To V or not to V? That is the question. And nope, I'm not talking about whether or not to play Cyberpunk 2077. I'm talking about voiced versus unvoiced protagonist. Now, I'll have to admit a bias toward the unvoiced protagonist. Of my 5 top RPGs, 4 of them are unvoiced: KOTOR, Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines, Baldur's Gate 3, and Dragon Age Origins. That doesn't mean I don't enjoy a voiced protagonist, as that list also contained Star Wars: The Old Republic. And there's also the Mass Effect series and Fallout 4. But wait, on the other side, you have Fallout 3 and Oblivion and Skyrim. And yes, Bethesda's return to the unvoiced protagonist, Starfield. It's quite interesting that the top 3 selling RPGs right now, Baldur's Gate 3, Starfield, and Cyberpunk 2077 Phantom Liberty, consists of 2 out of 3 with an unvoiced protagonist. Given all that, here are my 5 reasons that your silent meat puppet is a good thing. Number 5, more dialogue lines to choose from. I'm sure we all know that every game has a word budget, and that budget has to cover NPCs, shouts, all of those overheard bits, and of course, our PC. No surprise that that word budget is constrained by the price of all of that VO. Base SAG rates alone are somewhere between $700 and $900 for that first 4 hours, and around $200 for every hour after that. And that doesn't include the studio time, mastering, all those other pieces that go into putting that dialogue into our games, which means the word budget gets smaller and smaller. However, if you have an unvoiced protagonist, that meager budget can be used for things like extended dialogue with your NPCs, and that is rarely a bad thing. This leads us directly to number 4. More options means you can set the tone for your PC. You have the opportunity to address people in different ways, to accept or refuse quests, or ask for information in ways that reflect your character's attitude. Here, when faced with accepting or denying a request, we have a choice how we want to do it. We can say, "Oh yeah, sure, I'll do it, woohoo, yeah, I can't wait." Or we can say, "You betcha I'll do it, but fork over the cash, dude." And in my case here, I left the dialogue, and when I came back, I have the option of choosing a more natural way of re-engaging with that quest. And if more is better, we have number 3, more interactions with different NPCs. In most of these RPGs, there are named and unnamed NPCs. We can generally interact in some way with the named ones. Generally speaking, if you have a voiced protagonist, there are a lot fewer named NPCs you can interact with. Cyberpunk is particularly stingy with these folks. On the other hand, Starfield has a fairly wide selection of named NPCs. And even if you can't have a very deep conversation with them, you can ask them at least a couple, 2 or 3 questions. In some cases, this will lead you to go find a quest, such as that god-awful Heart of Mars quest. But even that added flavor to the world I'm running around in. And God knows we can use all the flavor in Starfield we can get. And number 2, well, this is a biggie. Your ability to set the tone for your character gives you role-playing opportunities. If I want to play a wisecracking jerk who just wants money, I have the opportunity to do it. If I'm a good dude and want to do things out of the kindness of my heart, I can do that as well. Here's another exchange where I have the opportunity to say, "Yeah, I'll do it," or "Give me cash for doing it." And yes, that's a common theme in Starfield. And the more they would vary this, the more I would like it. But even this little bit is welcomed, because I have the chance to immerse myself in this character the way I want to play this character. And it means if I roll another character, I can play a different one with different dialogue options, defining that character's personality and motivations. And number 1, replayability. As with number 2, having those different options allows me to roleplay a different character. But there's another element to this. When you have a voiced protagonist, take these lines from V. No matter what I roll or what motivations I have with a new character, V sounds like V. Male V is always male V.
They've got tech in there you wouldn't believe. These people know everything about you and your wife. They're watching your every move.
Female V is female V. Femshep, maleshep, doesn't matter. You can craft as much headcanon as you want, but that line will always be delivered that way, in that intonation, in that style. The unvoiced protagonist, I get to hear it in my head the way I want to hear it in my head, and that's canon because it's in my head and there's no voice tied directly to that line. And certainly for me, that makes a big difference. Corpo, Nomad, Street Kid, you're going to say it the same way. no matter what. Pick whatever background in Starfield you want and say it in your head however you want to say it. That means when you go to play that again and you roll another male character who does things differently, well, that's a different character in your head. That gives me more replayability. So there are my top 5 reasons that an unvoiced protagonist is a better way to go. But remember, these are generalizations. Not all quests are equal, and not all quests in those voiced protagonist games have the same number of dialogue options. Some have quite a few. Cyberpunk's The Hunt is just chock full of things you can say and interrupts to go along with them. And on the flip side, Starfield's got plenty of quests where you have hardly anything to say at all, and some of the things you can say are just flat stupid. What do you think? Which do you prefer? Let us know in the comments below. And a like and subscribe would be appreciated. Thanks for watching.